St. Louis Lambert International Airport is the largest medium hub airport in the U.S. In 2019, it was ranked as the 34th busiest airport in the country, serving nearly 16 million passengers. Historically, the airport has struggled to attract long-haul international flights, but now it seems like those struggles have finally paid off. After almost 20 years, St. Louis will once again have a nonstop link to continental Europe, as last week Germany's flag carrier Lufthansa announced new service between Frankfurt and St. Louis beginning next year. This video is meant to give some brief information about this new service and also explain just how St. Louis was able to secure this flight. That being said, I hope you'll enjoy this video. Let's get started. Lufthansa will launch thrice-weekly service from Frankfurt to St. Louis on June 1, 2022. The flights will operate on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the schedule is as follows. Flight LH448 will depart Frankfurt at 10:45 a.m. local time, arriving in St. Louis later that day at 1:45 p.m. local time. After 2 hours on the ground, the return flight LH449 will depart St. Louis at 3:45 p.m. and arrive back in Frankfurt the following morning at 7:45 a.m. The flights will cover 4,593 miles and are expected to be around 9 to 10 hours long in both directions. Lufthansa's new route to St. Louis will be operated by the Airbus A330-300. This aircraft has 255 seats, with 42 in business, 28 in premium economy, and 185 in economy. The A330 is the smallest aircraft in Lufthansa's long-haul fleet in terms of capacity, therefore making it the perfect choice to serve a smaller market like St. Louis. Once flights begin in June, Lufthansa will use St. Louis's Terminal 2 Concourse E, as this is the only part of the airport with a dedicated U.S. Customs and Immigration facility. At the moment, St. Louis Lambert Airport offers service to 2 international destinations across 2 different countries. These destinations are Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, served seasonally by Frontier, and of course, Cancun, Mexico, served by American, Frontier, Southwest, and Spirit Airlines. St. Louis previously had service to Toronto, Canada from Air Canada and seasonal service to Montego Bay, Jamaica from Southwest. However, these 2 routes have yet to resume. Aside from this handful of international destinations, St. Louis has largely remained as a domestic airport and overall a shadow of its former self. As you might know, St. Louis was a major hub for Trans World Airlines, or TWA, from 1986 to 2001 when the airline was taken over by American Airlines. During TWA's hub era in St. Louis, they operated nonstop flights to London Gatwick, Paris Charles de Gaulle, and Frankfurt. The Paris and Frankfurt routes ended in 2001 with the hub closure. However, London Gatwick service continued to operate with American Airlines until 2003. For 15 years following that, St. Louis was left without any transatlantic service. Then came 2018 when Icelandic low-cost airline WOW Air began operating 4 times weekly flights between Reykjavik and St. Louis on the A321. Despite strong ticket sales, the route was forced to end just months after it started due to WOW Air's financial issues that eventually led to their demise. Now you might think that Lufthansa's new flight to St. Louis doesn't make any sense and that this route won't last for very long. However, your perception of this route will change when you see just how much money and teamwork went into attracting Lufthansa to the gateway city. Lufthansa will receive up to $5 million in subsidies and incentives, with half coming from the St. Louis County Port Authority and the remaining half from business groups such as Greater St. Louis Incorporated and its corporate members. It's not just this $5 million package that's appealing to Lufthansa though. In fact, Lambert Airport agreed to waive 18 months worth of landing fees for Lufthansa worth around $520,000 if they maintain thrice-weekly service for over 2 years. That basically means Lufthansa won't pay any landing fees for their first 18 months in St. Louis, unless I interpreted that wrong. Clearly, St. Louis made Lufthansa an offer they definitely could not say no to. The success of this route announcement comes very much thanks to the cooperation of various St. Louis area businesses, and it goes without saying that Lufthansa and these businesses will surely benefit each other once the new service begins. One example I can give to you in this aspect is German pharmaceutical company Bayer, who actually have their crop science division headquartered in St. Louis. The new Lufthansa flight will allow for an easy way of transporting Bayer executives and employees between St. Louis and Germany. Lufthansa's new service to St. Louis is a big win for the city. Not only is it excellent news for businesses, but also for leisure travelers wanting to explore the world or visit family. One community that I am sure this new service will benefit is St. Louis's Bosnian community. The St. Louis metro area is home to over 70,000 Bosnians, which is both the largest Bosnian community in the United States and the largest population of Bosnians outside of Bosnia. Bosnia's capital and largest city, Sarajevo, is served by Lufthansa nonstop from Frankfurt. Flying Lufthansa from St. Louis to Frankfurt, then connecting to Sarajevo makes it much easier for members of St. Louis's Bosnian community to visit family and friends back in the motherland. Aside from Bosnia, Lufthansa serves a huge list of cities and countries that other airlines flying to St. Louis do not. So St. Louis will be more connected to the world than ever before once Lufthansa enters the market next year. When I first heard about Lufthansa's new route to St. Louis, I was really shocked and surprised, but in a good way. As mentioned earlier, St. Louis has really struggled with international flights, so it's great to see them finally landing Lufthansa. Hopefully soon we'll see other international carriers like British Airways coming to St. Louis soon, but time will tell whenever that happens. St. Louis is only a 2.5-hour drive away from me, so maybe if I end up getting the chance, I'll head over there in June to catch Lufthansa's first flight. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you're new to this channel. Also leave a comment below on how you think Lufthansa will do in St. Louis, because I'm very curious about hearing your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.